Simple. You can go into Quizlet and find all kinds of review on. I cut out any extra ones. These are only the basics. And there are 2 levels. I'll start off with level 1 and move down, and I'll show you the difference between level 1 and level 2. And like 10 court cases, you just gotta know. 20, you should know. You can go beyond that, then it's
Didn't you give us a
extra
list of
stuff.
these?
What's that?
Didn't you give us a list of these like 2 months ago?
I've done it more than once. We ready?
Yes.
Marbury versus Madison Judicial Review. Anybody tell me, what year?
1802. 1803.
But you're right, 1803, but I'm glad you knew I don't care if you know the exact year. In fact, you knew it was right after the election of 1800, where you get the midnight judges. Boom, boom, boom. Who's the most famous of the midnight judges?
John Marshall.
McCulloch.
Interstate. No, this is the banks.
Well, that's true, but what's it really about?
It's really about state
Federalism.
versus federalism.
Federal over state. State bank couldn't tax federal bank. Gibbons, of course, that is interstate commerce. And again, federal over state again. Could Marbury versus Madison be federal over state?
Yes.
Absolutely, nullification. Who gets to do it? All right, Fletcher v. Peck.
Fletcher v. Peck, that's the one about.
Yazoo land. Okay, so court ruled that the original contract was valid and could not be broken. What they found out was the Yazoo land, a deal made by the previous legislature, was bogus. There's some bogus stuff going on there, and they said, "Screw that! That contract's no good. We're redoing it." Took them to court and said, "Wait, yeah, it was a bogus contract, but you signed it." And this is where Marshall establishes his fourth tenet, his fourth pillar: sanctity of contracts. What is that basically making stable?
Contract.
Commerce, business.
Oh.
If contracts aren't abided by, then business it isn't. Okay, next, Dartmouth College versus Woodward. Again, same thing. Sanctity of contract. Boy, a lot of stuff here. But sanctity of contracts
When
is
you
what it
know
comes
all
down
the
to.
lore about it, or like the case.
That's fine.
When you know all the lore about it, like,
All the lore is crazy.
or do you
If you're familiar with it, and then you got a primary document, it helps you. But no, as long as you know what it's saying, you can throw it in as SF5, but it's always best to have a little background. So the background, instead of all that, just know this. They tried to renege on the charter, saying it was the king
yeah.
who gave them the charter. So, that contract's void. No, sanctity of contract. And then Charles River Bridge versus one. This is level 3. If you know this one, you're in the land of 5, land of 4. The supremacy of society's interests over private interests.
What time period was this? Does seem like a
This
pretty
is
big
like
one?
1819.
How come we? Oh, I've never heard this one.
It's in your book, actually. It's a pretty big one. But again, this is 3rd level. Not 2nd level, not 1st level. This is 3rd level.
If you have the Supreme Court ruling in society's interests over private, isn't that basically like welfare?
It's kind of like eminent domain.
Oh.
Like a bridge. Somebody owns land, but we have to have a bridge there, kind of thing. Johnson versus McIntosh. Established Indian tribes had rights to tribal lands that precede all other. Let's put federal government gets states can't blow off Indian lands. Only the federal government can. Basically, so only the federal government could take land from the tribes.
This is gonna be on the quick.
It's kind of like the state of Massachusetts declaring war on Spain. Only the federal government can declare war. So it's the same principle as the treaty's principle, proving that we see them as a foreign entity and not as a subjugated people, although they're both. Okay, Cherokee Nation would not be important except for the court case that comes after it. Cherokee Nation basically says that tribes are under direct federal authority. It said that this court case can't be brought up in front of the court because he's not a citizen. So they switched up citizens, got somebody who was half Cherokee, and they come up with Worcester. So Cherokee is just a precursor to Worcester, which we want to know. Okay, they uphold. Notice how I'm emphasizing Indians here. This upholds the Indians' rights to their land, upholds that previous court case. Why don't they get to keep the land? Andrew Jackson blows it off. See, Georgia law is overturned because the federal government. So Worcester versus Georgia not only is an Indian case, it is federal over state case. And what's funny is the federal authority, Andrew Jackson, is the one who blows it off. All right. Next court case, Dred Scott. So I've given you immense amount of notes on this. I have put you in the land of 6 with this court case. We're looking at slaves as property. We are declaring what unconstitutional? Missouri Compromise, unconstitutional. Slavery becomes national. Freedom becomes sectional. Neither Congress nor the President could suspend habeas corpus. What's this? Is this called? Okay, so it happens after Lincoln's already dead. So after he's already locked up the people without habeas corpus. He's dead. The war's over. So then it's going to be after the fact. And what does a court case after the fact always call?
Ex parte.
Ex parte. So this is ex parte Milligan, where it says you can't suspend habeas corpus. President Lincoln was absolutely wrong. Would Lincoln agree with this ruling?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, it's a war. So.
Well, he figured there's no country, so what's the point? U.S. versus E.C. Knight. The sugar case. All right. This is what really weakens Sherman. It says, hey, you can't, interstate commerce does not apply to local manufacturing. So if they're making sugar in Baltimore, only Baltimore can regulate it, not the federal government.
It's important.
Yes, because this makes Sherman nothing. This is what killed Sherman. This is SFI for business over regulation.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
I don't remember learning about that in the book.
It's a big sugar case.
Because some of it in the book it'll be like, oh yeah, and this act was killed by the Supreme Court, and then just never say the
Second level. This is second level. Not first level, but second level. Yeah, I got you. I hear you. That's why I'm trying to just go over the big ones that you might see on the test. Plessy, 3 words. Separate but equal. Shank.
this
Clear and present danger.
All right, freedom of speech is not absolute. Next one, Korematsu.
This is what upheld the Japanese concentration camps.
Anybody remember the executive order that put them away?
Executive over 1966. 1966.
Brown.
Overturn
Integration.
All right. What president will enforce this?
JFK.
No. 4.
Well, before? Truman.
FDR.
Eisenhower at Little Rock.
Oh,
Have you guys started
Eisenhower.
reading that chapter yet?
We did. I just forget because he was
Little Rock. Little Rock.
Little Rock.
Mountain. All right. Next one. What's Eisenhower going to do to enforce it?
Send troops.
He's gonna send troops.
Troops will escort those kids
Oh,
each
yeah.
and every day of the school year.
And then that one guy.
Great way to use our military.
Miranda versus Arizona.
Miranda rights.
Miranda rights. What did they rule in that? What
That you have to be aware of your rights. That if not, case dismissed.
Which
What
one is
happened
that?
to Miranda?
What's that?
What happened to
Great way to use
Miranda?
it.
Miranda got freed and then
Great way
he
to
killed her
use
in a bar
it.
fight with a
Oh,
knife.
yeah.
Oh.
He wasn't the nicest guy in the world. There's a reason he was in prison.
Yes, he was.
It's funny you asked that. I just happen to know the answer. Prayer in public school. When you pray, your hands are at an angle. Angle vital. When you pray, your hands are at an angle. Can I lead you in prayer?
No.
No. That's against the Constitution.
What did they bring somebody into the school to do?
Against the Constitution, unless it's out of school hours, or in a club, or after school, or something like that.
Like sports?
Yeah. And that's
Yeah,
shaky
I'm
area.
gonna be getting mad when the.
There's very few schools.
In your community, much more accepted. If they did stuff they did here in California, people would be fired.
Are you for real?
Oh yeah.
They be doing it here.
Oh yeah. It's because the community is overwhelming one way, right?
Southern pride.
Heck, they led a prayer at the teachers' thing at the beginning of the year. Couldn't believe it. With the Secretary of State of North Carolina there.
Yeah, I was
Highly illegal.
That's kind of shocking.
Alright, excludes evidence if obtained illegally.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the Fourth Amendment.
Who's that one?
This is Matt versus Ohio. It's called the exclusionary rule. So, they just bust into your bedroom and they find a gun. Can't use it. You have to have that warrant. You have to have probable cause.
So wait, hold up. They could enter a house illegally,
No.
find a bloody knife in the victim's body, and all of that has to be excluded.
Gone. And all the evidence they get from knowing that's
Don't
there
get any
is all
ideas.
excluded.
I'm not getting ideas.
Wait, so wouldn't, like, let's say like a person,
I
like,
just
right?
have
We're
a
not
question.
called like the police, or and they have them without come in, or you can't come in without a warrant, and they bust the door.
There's probable cause. You're forgetting probable cause. You got blood all over your shirt. Guess what they got?
Probable
Probable
cause.
cause, yeah. I mean, you know, there's somebody in the house going, help, they're killing me. They get to go in. Right to an attorney. Gideon versus Wainwright. And in the Miranda rights it said, and in those Miranda rights, you are given the Gideon. Gideon was, I think he broke into a, whether he did or not, I don't know. Broke into a bar, broke the jukebox and took the chain. And the funny thing was he was put away for like 20 years, some insane amount of time back then. What? Yeah, and he got railroaded. He probably was innocent. The lawyers just crushed him. He was stupid. And it just... So here's where it was proven that, hey, you've got to have a minimum, a crappy lawyer. But you got to have a lawyer. This is... Does everybody get to get a free attorney?
Yes.
No. Only if you can't afford one.
Oh.
Donald Trump's not getting a free attorney. Upheld Civil Rights Act of '64, outlawed discrimination.
It's definitely not the ERA.
Heart of Atlanta Motel. I
Sounds like a song.
think, is this the one where intermarriage?
That's.
I thought that was Love Unity.
Yeah, that's, I always get those two. The heart and the love, they always mix them up every time. I believe this is about staying in a white or black hotel. Next one, flag burning is constitutional.
Texas v. Johnson.
That's true. And there's another one. It's called U.S. versus Eichmann.
Of course it's Texas.
So I like Texas v. Johnson too, but that's easy. So I'm just throwing you the other one. All right, next. Restricted students' free speech rights at school.
That one girl.
Oh, the one.
TLO.
So about the the ones that were protesting at the thing for the Vietnam War, right?
So did that restrict students' free speech rights at school?
I don't know.
You're talking Tinker versus Des Moines, correct?
Oh.
Hazelwood comes after and says there are certain things you cannot do.
Like what?
You can't have
I can't say I'm about a B word in school.
the principal is an a-hole.
Oh.
You can't have a picture of Marilyn Monroe naked on your shirt. That'll disrupt school. Disrupt school or cause a safety issue. And if you wear a naked picture of Marilyn Monroe with a whole bunch of pubescent boys, you're going to have a disruption. Students' right to free speech. Tinker v. Des Moines. What was the free speech they were allowed to have?
It was those bracelets, right?
It was a black armband protesting Vietnam War.
No, we can't even do that.
Yes, you can.
You can't?
We can't wear bandanas. Wouldn't that be
That is because they are considered a gang symbol, and they hit the other court case, Hazelwood, because they caused a safety issue being a gang symbol.
I want to sue them.
Now, if that black armband was considered a gang symbol, that's the Nazi gang symbol. Okay, but that's where they get you with the safety thing, the bandana.
I'm from a school with a swastika armband.
You wouldn't need to kick you out. You'd be kicked out before you walked in. Baker v. Carr, anybody know it? Baker v. Carr. Oh, excuse me. One person, one vote must prevail at both state and national levels. So, do you know what gerrymandering is?
No.
They make their districts really strange looking to make sure they get just the right. So there's 70% Democrats, 30%. And if I'm a Republican, what can I do? Make Charlotte, all giant districts right in Charlotte. Why? Cities vote Democrat. So I put just a couple districts that are like 90% Democrat. That'll only elect the 2 representatives. All the rest will be Republican districts. So what this does, it says no. Each district's got to represent about the same amount of people, 100,000, whatever it be. Does that make sense? They're making some representing 40,000, while some represent 100,000, allowing their party to. North Carolina being one of them, the Democrat Party ruled, I think, in North Carolina for 150 years straight, up until 2010.
Democratic Party?
Democrats ruled North Carolina for 150 years, non-stop in the legislature until 2010. New York Times, and what's amazing is now, did you see what just happened last week?
Nope.
Republicans were 1 vote short of having a supermajority.
You?
That means they can override the governor's veto anytime they want. And a Democrat just turned Republican in the North Carolina legislature. That's national news, meaning now the Republicans can pass anything they want and the governor can't stop anything.
Nice.
Well, actually, if you think about it, that Democrat's very smart. Now that Democrat is the ultimate in power in North Carolina. They have to ask every time before they even do a law, hey, will you override the governor's veto? Yes, or no, making her the ultimate power.
You
Right?
think she's really Republican? Do you really think she changed?
I don't know.
Or is it power?
I don't know. New York Times versus U.S. Okay, you don't know this one. What happened is the Pentagon Papers. Do you remember
I
Vietnam?
didn't know about them.
Yeah, what were they? Do you remember?
Didn't it like basically say that I'm sure it was because the posters in the back?
Don't want the politicians to look bad. They find these. Daniel Ellsberg gives them to the New York Times. They're going to publish them. The government's whoa! National security. You're not allowed to do that. Can newspapers publish nuclear secrets?
No.
No. So there's not freedom of the press, absolute, right? There are security issues. But this was not a security issue. Take it to the court, and the court says, no. It gets to get published. And so this is a major cornerstone for, like you have, what just came out with WikiLeaks.
What?
He's always gonna bring up something current. You still don't know.
Well, here, I'm sorry.
Look, we literally don't.
And here, totally talk about current. Roe versus Wade. What is it?
Made abortions illegal.
Made abortions legal. Legal.
Yeah.
That was in 73. No. That's what it used to be.
Oh.
Now, it's Dobbs v. Jackson. At Dobbs v. Jackson, you had Roe versus Wade, and honestly, it was impossible to teach. Because what they based it on, the Constitution, was a joke. It was a joke. Even Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the most progressive justice ever, the pinnacle of progressivism, said that the problem with Roe was going to come back to bite them because they based it on a nothing burger. And that's what they're going to come back, and they're going to say, is there anything in the Constitution about abortion?
No.
So if there's nothing in the Constitution about abortion, then whose right is it to regulate it?
The state.
The states, according to the 10th Amendment. So that is the new court decision based on reserved powers of the states, and that's why you have some states where it's legal and some where it's not.
Take a drive.
Yes.
Right here.
Yeah. And now the big question is the pill.
Birth control.
There's a birth control pill. If you sell that across state lines, now are you going to prison?
No, they made it.
And if it's according to certain laws, are you going to prison for murder? You see where we're going here. There's some major legal questions about to be discussed.
Isn't it?
Yes.
They just passed, or they just
Do it.
they rebought an act where they made
No.
the birth control pill, not birth control, the abortion pill. They made it illegal, and then they made it
Yeah, there's just been a ruling on it in court. I mean, just yesterday or the day before, saying that pill is illegal. But he also said, but that court case doesn't apply for a week until they get their appeals in, then it's going to go to court. And it's going to go to the Supreme Court.
Hey, bro, just imagine meeting someone in the back. Hey, bro, you got the stuff?
The next
Hands
day.
you a birth control pill?
All right. U.S. versus Nixon.
Watergate scandal.
Watergate. He says, hey, I don't have to give up my tapes.
They were like, yeah, you do.
Exactly. What's I'm sorry. And that is called executive privilege, subordinate to due process.
Smoking guns.
All right, we'll talk a lot more about that in the future here. We're going to do reading guides for that Watergate era. So that Nixon era, we're going to do Orange Book reading guides, and they'll help just like we
The
did
book
the
barely
Cold
went
War.
over it.
I don't like the book here later on. I know. That's why we're doing
Yes.
Orange Book stuff.
It was like so surface.
Regents versus the University of California, Baki. I usually teach this. I'm not going to. It's about affirmative action. Why not? Right now in front of the Supreme Court, there's major changes. There's been major changes. There's going to be major changes.
What
Why
do
are you
mean by
teaching it?
Affirmative action. At the beginning, Oh, my dad hated it.
Because
Oh, this is
My
like-
dad despised it. My dad worked at Xerox as an engineer.
You lose your job.
60% of their business was with the federal government. And the federal government says you have to have a certain amount of females in your engineering department before we'll issue you contracts. So they had to quickly put females into management. So here's a college girl coming out of college, knows nothing about copy machines, getting promoted past them, and I had to listen at the dinner table all the time.
I would have been mad.
I would have been mad as
You have the fireman's test where they gave out the test. The top score was the one white guy. He was the only guy who didn't get accepted.
Isn't it?
Affirmative action because you had all whites in there, so we want to get African Americans in colleges and stuff. Now, there's a point where it's got to stop, correct? Because this is reverse racism. When is that point?
Right now.
That's what they're thinking. That's what the Supreme Court's arguing right now. So, I'm a boring guy. I like to read Supreme Court people. It's my thing. I read Supreme Court ledgers. And anyways, the prevailing thought right now amongst Princeton elite is that this is on its way out for sure. At the heart of it is Asians right now. Asians are really getting screwed.
Oh yeah, they is getting screwed. They like-
Big time.
They be having everything. They
Why affirmative action's crushing them?
Why?
Because they're getting such great scores, and so and yet it's near impossible for them to get accepted to schools.
That's racist.
Yes. Well, affirmative action's racist. It's supposed to but fix the problems of the past.
I don't know how it works.
Thank God.
Very controversial. All right, Bush v. Gore. You want to know what really made Republicans and Democrats hate each other today?
There were people that right now a little bit going out.
Yeah. What? And it's Bush v. Gore. Do you know the story here? I'll be teaching it more later on. Bush v. Gore. Election night, and it's close. I mean close. It comes down to Florida. Florida will decide the election.
Dear God. Dear God.
Wait, Florida has 2 time zones. So now it's going to come down to basically 1 county. And now it's down to 300 votes.
Florida, bro, what's happening?
So what happened, and it looks like at one point, Gore says, yeah, it looks like I lost. He's down by 3,000. So he does the thing that the gentleman does in presidential elections. When it looks like you're going to lose, you call your opponent. Hey, man, it looks like I lost. I concede. Congratulations, peaceful transfer of power. And then the new news comes out. Wait, there's new vote tally, and it's within 300 votes. And Gore, I take it back. And Bush says, no take backs. And so now there's a saying, and what is it? So now they got to count the ballots that weren't counted, the ones that had a problem with them. See, when you poke the ballot, sometimes it doesn't poke the hole all the way through, and you get a little piece of hanging chad. Now, sometimes those hanging chads, if you just hold the card roughly, they'll pop. Was this just a popped one, or did they mean to do it? Well, it means average schmuck like me who volunteers once an election to go serve some official thing and have free donuts. Now all of a sudden it has 200 cameras on them looking at each individual ballot to see if it's a hanging chad or not. According to Florida state law, they must determine the winner by such and such a date. They're not going to do it. They got all these stacks and they're having to look at this in front of cameras, each one. So according to state law, the Secretary of State of Florida must determine the winner of that election. And she determines, a Republican, that it was Bush. Oh, did I tell you who the governor of Florida was? The appointer of this Secretary of State. George Bush's brother, Jeb Bush.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, the country's about to go to civil war. Supreme Court says, whoa. We gotta figure this out.
Florida's a crazy state, man.
And in a 5-4 vote, 5 Republicans to 4 Democrats,
Of course.
they go for Bush.
Was this like the Hayes thing?
What's that?
Kind of like Hayes?
Except there's no compromise here. It's just the Supreme Court decided it.
Why?
But boy, does it bring dissension. The Democrats are livid. What's that, sir? Yeah, so, yes, ma'am.
You said we were about to go to civil war. How would that have caused a civil war?
When everybody thinks they won the election, they think the other side is cheating, and there's a power grab. When the candidate's brother determines who's the winner, yeah, people get upset.
Of course he would go for it.
Yeah, and you should.
Yeah.
It's your brother. Of course, I got no problems with that at all, right?
It's just, that's not a position you
I'm
should
sorry,
be in.
but if
It's
one
your
of my
brother.
siblings.
I don't care if you hate your brother, you vote for him.
Just call him.
All right, next.
All
All right, that's all the court cases I have for you. Oh, nope. Now it's ready? Review time. Mr. Wells, Supreme Court can rule a law unconstitutional.
Margaret.
That is correct. Ms. Gelbar, which is the precedent by which North Carolina courts have ruled James Keenan? Oh, you don't have to know this. Never mind.
Wait,
You don't have to know this.
James Keenan.
Swan v.
what
Charlotte.
happened?
This was about a decade ago. The state took over the school.
Which school?
James Keenan, their scores are so poor. Yeah, we might be next.
Leandro B.
Our
Wait,
scores
whoa,
are
whoa,
pretty
What
bad.
happens? What happens when the school takes over? When
The
the state?
state money comes in, a whole bunch of state people come and oversee stuff, and I don't think it would affect you guys much. It would affect the teachers and administration quite a bit. I'm sorry, that's in
I don't
there.
want them folks.
Do you guys understand where is it, Swan versus Charlotte Mecklenburg is?
No.
Level 3, level 4. But actually, this is about busing. Do you know what busing is?
That's about like civil rights thing, right?
It is. It happened in my school. I went to a suburban school in upstate New York. It was all white. Heck, I was friends with the only black person in the school, and his name was Kwadwo Boyake. It's not like he was from America.
You know what country he's from?
Yeah, he was from Kenya. His brothers were Kwame, Kwasi, and Nania. No, I'm not from Kenya. He was from Ghana.
Ghana.
From Ghana. He was
I
from
really
Ghana.
had Kenya in my head.
My mom's name's Keenan.
All right, but anyways, busing is we're gonna take kids from the inner city schools and bus them to suburbia. And then we're gonna take white kids from suburban schools and bus them to the inner city schools, mixing the populations.
Why?
Well, one of the best ways to make good racial relations, mix the kids together. You can't hate somebody you live with.
I would be mad.
I mean, you understand them, right?
How you gonna do this to somebody you never see?
Who's gonna hate this idea the most?
Suburbs.
Elementary moms. I don't care, white, black. You're shipping my kindergartner an hour away from school? Hell no! Exactly. Elementary schools are right next to home, right? So that's gonna really cause some huge uproars. You have racism versus moms and
Racism versus.
actually, Joe Biden was in the heart of this. He really got into the middle of this. He was very anti-busing. That's kind of one of the
What
things
was the choice that was made?
They did it. It didn't work very well. They're still doing it in some places, but
So they just moved. They moved kids from the suburbs to inner city schools.
just busting them.
So like
What time
taking
period
kids
was
from
this?
our area.
I was in school.
So like taking kids from our area and taking them to like Wilmington and then taking kids from Wilmington to here. Ugh.
All right, Ms. Ortez, Congress, not states, regulate interstate commerce. Excellent, sir. Ms. Cadena.
Come on, don't be a weak link.
Which case said in 65 that more had to be done to get schools desegregated, including busing?
Are you serious right now?
Brown versus Board of
Are you serious? Swan v. Charlotte and Mecklenburg. We just talked about this like right now.
All
My
right.
bad, you were in my ear.
And that's not right.
Is this?
Now, Swan v. Mecklenburg is 73.
Exactly.
This should be, it's not even up there.
Exactly.
What is it?
This case is actually Brown 2.
Exactly. So I was right.
It's called Brown 2.
Brown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Equal to Brown?
Yeah. Who's wrong?
Really?
Yeah. Even when I'm wrong, I'm right.
Slaves are property. That's good. That's
That's
good.
probably Stanford.
Set up the exclusionary rule and establish a Bill of Rights applied to the states as well as federal government.
Oh no, I know this one. Can I steal it from you?
Oh,
Can I take it?
no, it's my turn.
You have no faith.
My man. It was part of Atlanta.
Matt.
No. That was Ohio.
You're close though.
Remember, you're not allowed to use evidence that you find. That's the exclusionary rule. Illegal. Ms. Keenan. 7 choices. Roe v. Wade.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Case abortion.
Yeah, Mr. Wells.
Favorite case.
That's absurd.
Okay.
The same list. That's-
Brown.
Oh, okay. Overturn separately.
Ms. Gelbar. Which came first?
Marbury versus Madison.
Thank you. Ms. Ortez. Which came last? That is correct. Mr. Cadena.
Two.
Hey, are you finding these easy all of a sudden?
Yeah.
All right, let's get through these. Separate but equal.
Plus you first.
Blassie. Which case? Oh, we don't want to. World War II prisoner camps for American citizens.
Korematsu.
Korematsu. What's Korematsu say? Was it legal or illegal?
Illegal.
Legal.
Oh.
If the government publicized like.
Yo,
You know how much money?
oh yeah.
And cost tuition.
$25,000.
I think was it 25 or 85?
25.
It sounds actually
Had to be
85.
in the 20,000.
85 sounds
I
right.
thought it was 85. Miss Keenan?
85.
Overturn separate but equal.
Oh, Brown.
Brown. Mr. Wells? Excludes evidence if obtained illegally.
Come on. These are your court.
Wait, I had it.
Here's your court.
Versus Ohio. Tell him.
Matt.
Matt.
I got it. I
You
got
remember
it.
the
Yeah,
Ohio
he said
part?
it, he said it.
Ms. Gelbar, right to an attorney.
I know
Only
it's
in
for the
Ohio.
Miranda right.
It's not a Miranda.
I know
no. What is it?
Gideon's versus Albright, right?
Gideon. Gideon.
Close.
And hey, if you don't know this one, don't say it. Gideon. Fine.
Gideon's.
Map.
Even
Fine.
Even
The only ones aren't good is if you have New York or U.S. And then you're gonna have to find one.
But-
Dred Scott.
like even on
Brown?
essay.
Yeah.
Dang.
Marbury. This is how you say it in law school. So it's okay. It's absolutely perfectly acceptable. Matter of fact, if you do Dred Scott versus Sanford, you're walking into a trap. The official docket says Sanford. Yeah, his name is Sanford. Just Dred Scott.
The thing is, I was wondering, I was like, man, like, imagine having to write down all of that. When I get taken the
Yeah,
next.
Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas? No.
Brown.
Brown. All right, upheld civil rights. Who's this?
Mine.
Upheld Civil Rights Act. Outlawed discrimination. All right, so we're going to get the Civil Rights Act of 64 and then the Voting Rights Act of 65. The two together being the biggies. This is, all discrimination is illegal now. And what is the court case that says, yep, this is happening, this is the hotel. Yeah. Or motel. What's the difference between a hotel and a motel?
Motels are cheaper, right?
Motel's like over.
Motels have the door right out to the parking lot.
Yeah.
A hotel, you got to walk into a lobby and up. And
That's it.
Motels.
a motor lodge.
murders
Yeah,
happen.
that's the difference.
Well,
We don't need.
I mean, there's a lot more differences.
When arrested, you must be read your rights.
Miranda versus.
Miranda, prayer in public schools.
Oh, this one got me. Come on, get the follow, get the follow out, get the follow out.
Art.
Angle.
Yeah.
Vital. Vitale.
President Jackson blew up this decision.
Worcester.
Worcester versus Georgia. What came right before it?
Cherokee.
U.S. Cherokee.
Cherokee
My
Nation.
bad.
And what is it? Cherokee Nation versus?
Georgia.
Who cares?
Cherokee,
Cherokee
Nation.
Nation case. As long as you say Cherokee Nation case, you're good to go.
Itchy.
Why go? Now, if you 100% sure what the next part is, fine. Write it down if you want. Flag burning constitutional, 2 cases.
Itchy.
And Jones.
Itchy.
Wow.
Itchy and scratchy.
Oh, Eichmann. I got itchy. Itchy. U.S. versus Eichmann. Now here, you can't say Eichmann. You gotta say U.S. v. Eichmann.
Texas.
Why?
Because you gotta
The
have
United
the
States is doing.
Oh, you need to say whatever was
Yeah,
first.
yeah. And saying U.S. doesn't help you. There's 3 million cases starting in the U.S. Restricted students' free speech. So we know Tinker established it.
Hazel.
This then restricts it, and it's Hazelwood.
Hazelwood School.
So Hazelwood case.
Climber.
So Hazelwood, you don't have to know school district versus coal mine.
Hazelwood decision.
Hazelwood, boom. Students' free right to free speech. Tinker. Open the way for Congress to regulate interstate commerce. Gibbons v. Ogden. Neither Congress nor the President can suspend habeas corpus.
Ex parte Milligan.
Parte Milligan. What's the other? Ex parte Perriman is one other ex parte case you need to know. That's really lane to 6 there. Bush v. Gore. Whoops.
Election.
Oops, excuse me. In times set by state law become unconstitutional. So the state cannot decide who's president. Okay, we're done. All right. What's my next thing?
Oh, sad.
Sorry. Labor, I'm sorry it's so late. It took us so long, so let's go to the back. You ready? You can just turn around. So here I got my timeline.